What's up, everybody? You guys made it to another day in the Diddy trial, and you guys made it here just in the nick of crime. Now, if you were like, where was your update yesterday? I did do it. It was just very, very late. I had something happen during the day and had to deal with it and was gone most of the day. And when I got home, had to do everything and get it out there. However, I will tell you this. Even though it was done late, I'm going to encourage you guys to go back. It's on YouTube. You can watch it there under the Sean Diddy Comes playlist because it was very, very, very intense. Very intense. And for my Instagram folks, I did a post, like a carousel post that outlines some of those more intense moments. So again, you definitely want to go check that out. If you do, I'm sorry it was late, but we did get it done. But today we're doing it a little bit early, and you guys can see that I have my headphones around my neck, and there's a reason for that. So we are supposed to have a guest here in a little bit after we get through the recap. I also have some audio that I'm going to play for you. If you are on TikTok, you won't be able to see either of those things. So I will warn you as we get closer to it. For those of y'all who do want to jump over and see that. If not, you're welcome, of course, to stay right there. Now, as always, if you are new here, please hit that follow button. It is something free that you can do that helps out my platform tremendously. TikTokers, please tap that screen. Let's get that to 10,000. We're only at 1,700. We got almost 500 people in here. So please give that screen a tap. And you know what? Let's just get right into it. All right. So before court started, there's a few things that you guys should know about that happened. The first thing is that Diddy actually scored a major victory this morning, a legal victory, that is. So you all may remember a few weeks ago, we had Dr. Dawn Hughes. She was a clinical psychologist, and the prosecution had brought her in to testify and explain victim behavior. Well, they wanted to bring her in again, but she's not allowed to. All right. The judge said that she can't come back in. We're going to talk about why. So now, if her name does sound familiar, even if you didn't watch the trial a few weeks ago, she also testified for Amber Heard during the Depp trial. In this case, she told jurors that victims sometimes say they're okay with certain acts as a survival tactic. And the trauma, especially in violent situations, can lead to disassociation and memory issues. Her testimony was meant to help jurors understand why Diddy's alleged victims stayed with him and why they all sent those loving messages that on the surface might look like consent. But the prosecution wanted her back on the stand to explain how coercive control works. Then that's when abuse is mixed, by the way, with rewards, affection, normal moments. Basically, it's just grooming. Coercion's a fancy word for grooming somebody into dependency against them. They said that she needed to clarify how victims get stuck in that kind of psychological trap. Diddy's legal team pushed back hard, saying her testimony was too broad, too generalized, and not grounded in specifics of the alleged victims in this case. And on Tuesday, today, the judge sided with defense. This means that the jury won't hear more about coercive control, which is a big loss for the prosecution because that concept is central to this case. Now, let's take a breather for a lighter moment, okay? Because this next bit is kind of funny. If you saw my latest short, you already know what I'm going to talk about. But Thursday last week, Diddy looked over, which, by the way, is the same day that he got in trouble and they threatened to maybe remove him from the courtroom. He looked over at Jane Rosenberg, who is the courtroom sketch artist, who is legendary in federal cases, by the way, just so you know. And he said to her, "Soften me up a bit. You're making me look like a koala bear." Dead ass. That's what he told her. Rosenberg used these kinds of comments. As used to these kind of comments, Giuliani once told her she made him look like his dog, and Donald Trump Jr. said to make me look sexy. So Diddy joins a growing list of defendants who are, let's just say, a little more concerned about their courtroom glow up than they are about what's going on in their trial and the fact that they are facing life in prison. Now, let's talk about a second mistrial motion. For those of you who might have missed it, Diddy's legal team filed it over the weekend after last week's testimony from Bryana Bongolan, and we kind of expected that this was going to happen. Now, Bryana was Cassie's friend and a fashion designer who claimed that Diddy held her over that 17-story balcony in LA and later threw her onto some patio furniture. The defense says that story is completely made up, and they claim that the government knows that. According to them, Diddy and Cassie weren't even in LA at the time, that they just got, and they say they got receipts, literal receipts to prove that she was on the East Coast. On top of that, defense attorney Alexander Shapiro accused Bongolan of perjury and said that the prosecution should have known better. However, U.S. Assistant Attorney Madison Smizer pushed back, saying that Bongolan may have misremembered the timings, the dates. She testified that she didn't remember all the details clearly, including when certain photos were taken. I mean, you're going back a lot of years. Now, the judge wasn't buying the mistrial arguments. Judge Submaranian said that this wasn't a case of prejudice, especially because the defense got to go in hard on cross, even landing what he called a Perry Mason moment when they exposed inconsistencies in Bongolan's timeline. His exact words were, "This is not fodder for a mistrial. It's the adversarial process at work." So bottom line, mistrial denied. That's the second one. Trial rolls on. So now let's talk about a little bit of juror drama. Okay. This is one more thing that happened before court resumes. On Tuesday morning, before the jury came in, the prosecution asked Judge Subramanian to strike juror number 6. Now, we don't know why. Whatever the issue is, it is under seal, so no public explanation has been given, and we probably won't get an explanation. All right. But what we do know is that defense objected. They told the judge, "We'd like the opportunity to be heard," suggesting that they might think removing this juror could stack the deck unfairly against them. As of now, the judge hasn't ruled, but we're watching that one very closely. Now, for my TikTokers, I'm going to read this real quick. We're about to play an audio moment. So if you want to jump over to YouTube, you can do that to hear it, and then you can jump back if you want. You will not be able to hear it on TikTok, but if you are on Insta or Facebook watching, you'll be able to hear it just fine. But basically, this is an audio note, and we started hearing about this yesterday, and I think possibly on Friday, and I'm kind of stalling to give you guys time to move over for those who didn't. And I'm probably going to talk about one specific thing, too, that happened yesterday toward the end that remind me if I need to. But I'm giving y'all a chance to walk over if you can hear. But basically what this is, it's audio. It's an audio note from 2023 where Diddy tells Jane to get on her job after she said she was not available to do a freak off. All right. I'll give you a couple of, because I'm waiting for people to jump over. I see those numbers climbing on YouTube. She said, "I'm about to really disappear." He said, "I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me?" Adding that Jane had a rude awakening coming to her. "You better get back on your job. That's all it is, because you got me on my job." Jane said she understood her job to be keeping Diddy happy, which included having relations with male escorts as he watched. Diddy's job, meanwhile, is providing financial support for her, providing her $10,000 a month. So let's go ahead. Let me pull this audio up real quick for y'all to hear this. And I'm going to put this on so I can hear it. And yeah, again, you won't hear it on TikTok unless you jump over, but everywhere else, you're good. Let's play this real quick. This is the first time we've gotten some audio that's come out from this, right? So hold on 1 second. Add to stage. There we go. Let's do it. I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, that's my friend. I'm in Miami. I don't have a lot of friends out here, okay? She asked me if she could work out with me. I said, okay. You got to believe what you want. It's the last time you're going to be cursing at me, disrespecting me over nothing. I'm a human being. I'm not going to lock myself up in a room and have no friends. I don't have a bunch of guy friends. I already told you that. And she just came over to work out. But I'm not going to be explaining. It don't matter if I just got finished the other day. I'm single. I could do whatever the fuck I want to, but I didn't. You're straight flipping out on me. And I told you that you had one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve being honest with somebody. And then every time they see somebody around, they like, I'm doing something working out. Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know. You think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence, and ain't nobody threatening you. And I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad. I could have a spat. We could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat. I'm just being clear. I can't do with you every time you get upset. Girl. I done sent you flowers already. Ain't nobody talking about in the past. That's what I'm talking about. You don't know how to just move on. How can somebody like have a relationship with you even as a friend and you don't know how to move on? You go to mother, like it just goes crazy. Just stop. I'm saying, let's move on. And my tone is like this. I'm just waking up.
All right, so you guys heard that. Somebody just said on the YouTube side, that's not Diddy's voice. It absolutely 100% is. These were released by the court, prosecution and defense, both approved them as evidence. They're just different tones from different notes, but it 100% is his voice. Otherwise, it would not have been part of the trial. Defense would have had it thrown out, et cetera, et cetera. So if you say it on TikTok and you didn't get a chance to hear that, starts about minute 8 on the YouTube program. You can, again, if you always come in late, all of this stuff is saved on YouTube. You can watch it from the beginning. It's just there, so y'all are aware of it. Now, so that's what I wanted you to hear before we started getting into the daily updates for what we have here. And again, we should have a guest hopefully later this afternoon or later in the show, and we'll talk about that. So, Jane's back on the stand. Prosecution finished everything up yesterday. All right. With Jane, not with the whole trial. And so it's Cross's time. And they started to ask her about meetings with prosecutors and her relationship with Diddy. Jane said Friday that the first time she had seen Diddy, this was the first time, Friday, when she took the stand, was the first time she had seen Diddy since his arrest back in September. She also revealed that the government gave her immunity to testify. And I think that's very important because we didn't know that Jane had given her immunity. This is new stuff that we weren't aware of. So Jane now has immunity to testify too. So she's like the 5th or 6th or 7th witness to be given immunity, I think, at this point. But anyways, let's dive back into the cross-examination of Jane. So Diddy's ex-girlfriend is Jane, one of the key accusers to this trial, if you're new here. She dated Sean from 2021 to 2024 up until his arrest. And what she said today pulled back the curtain a little bit more on the relationship filled with manipulation, money, love, control, and contradiction. So defense attorney Tinny Garagos opened up Cross by confirming that Jane had met with Diddy's legal team several times before the trial, but she stopped communicating with them back in April. Jane also made it clear that she hasn't seen or spoken to Diddy since his arrest in September. Sorry, a second here. Lost my things. And even though Combs is paying her attorney's fee, she feels properly represented and hasn't felt pressured by the defense. From there, things got emotional fast. Garagos said, TikTok's giving me a warning. Garagos asked if Jane regretted the choices she made during her time with Combs. She replied, "I resent him for leading me into the lifestyle he led me into." She said her choices were made under emotional pressure and that she didn't really understand what she was signing up for at the start of the relationship. And despite all of that, yes, I still love him. She still loves him. And you could see it hit Diddy. He smiled and nodded along. He looked warmed by it. Jane went on to talk about the good times, how she'd cuddle him, bathe him, which is kind of weird, give him foot massages, and how they'd always put his favorite show, Dateline, on. Apparently Diddy's favorite show is Dateline, kind of ironic, so that they could fall asleep watching it together. Now, real quick, for my TikTok people, they decided to give me a warning for you guys. So I'm going to sign off and come immediately back for y'all to come watch it because TikTok sucks. I haven't even talked about anything bad at this point in time. We haven't even talked about anything and they give warnings. So I'm going to sign off on TikTok real quick and we're going to come literally right back. That being said, guys, we'll keep talking about this. So bear with me. I know, these TikTok, I can just say this, TikTok, like despite the fact that it is my biggest platform, it is the worst effing platform. I swear to God. I think I can fix it by doing this. It is the worst platform to deal with. It really is. So she would cuddle him, bathe him, give foot, and everything she said. And if you were here by the way, on yesterday when we were listening to some of her testimony, everything that she said, how could you still, I know you can't help, the heart wants what the heart wants, right? I get it. But how could you still be in love with somebody who did? I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read what we're talking about from Friday for those, or yesterday for those of y'all who missed it toward the end of this. And I'm gonna come back to this. I just remind me if I forget. Anyways, this is where things get a little bit more complex, right? So Jane talked again about the so-called hotel nights. These were nights that often involved her, Diddy, and another man, usually an entertainer. She said she endured those nights because of what came afterwards, the affection, the closeness, the normalcy. She said she believed these moments were exclusive to her and that she would even check his phone to make sure she was the only woman involved in these encounters. Yes, he was my baby. I felt loved because we experienced these things together and because they were really special to him. But over time, she said, they started to shift. I'm breaking all of my own boundaries just to make him feel extremely loved. She didn't say, she said she didn't want to make him feel judged because Diddy had convinced her that these moments were sacred, that this was their thing, and it left her feeling conflicted and hollow. Again, that is that manipulation, right? Then came the questions about money. Jane confirmed that over the course of their relationship, she received about $150,000 from Diddy. When asked if she kept track of the exact amount, she said, I never really counted, but I'd assume, yeah. Most of the money, she said, was sent to her without asking. She admitted that she's attracted to men who are successful, saying, my ideal partner is a protector and a provider. Before she met Combs, she was making money as an influencer and received about $4,700 a month in child support. But once she was in that relationship, she said she couldn't focus on her brand and felt like she only reached about 10% of her earning potential. She also revealed that in April 23, when she moved to a new rental home, Combs paid 40 grand up front for the deposit, first and last month's rent. She described how he used that financial support as a subtle way to keep her dependent. He used it kind of as a little tool. The rent was always just like a little reminder. And as part of what she called a love contract, Diddy agreed to give her $10,000 a month, money that she used mostly for housing. And as of now, to this date, while she's testifying against him, he is still paying for her rent. Now, things got even more intense when court played voice notes between the two. And one, Diddy told her, you are the crack pipe. That's my new name for you. Or should I just call you CP? Jane explained that the phrase was about his addiction to her emotionally and sexually. Then they played the voice note in response. We don't have this voice note yet. Once we do, I'll play it. Crack pipe is so real for both of us. Definitely stay in the light. I had so much fun with you. Turks was incredible. Being close with you, I'm so happy. You could feel the tension in the room. This wasn't just transactional. This was a toxic emotional codependency on full display for everyone who was listening. Jane also admitted that even when they'd argue and stop talking, she'd go back to him willingly. Quote, we would get back because we missed each other. Yes, I wanted to be with him. Garagos then asked her to describe what she loved about Diddy, and this part, it was raw. She said that when they met, he beamed with light and that she was fascinated by him. She said he helped her be less shy, that he was motivating, and that he would uplift me. That's what he said. Jane also confirmed that Diddy invested about $20,000 into her fashion line, which supported her swimwear designs as well. Real quick, TikTok friends, I'm sorry to make you ask y'all to do this again. We're good for the things, but if y'all could tap that screen and get that back to 10,000, I would appreciate y'all. Sorry about that. Blame the TikTok overlords. Let's just recap on this part real quick. Okay. So in the middle of this trial, she just told the jury she resents him, but she loves him. She endured sleeping with other men to get time with him after. She let him pay her rent, and she said he used it as emotional leverage. She would willingly go back with him, even now. She broke her own boundaries just to make him feel loved. All right. And here's what I'm going to do real quick. Here's what I want to do. I want to read something to y'all because I think that I'm just going to do it. I've been keep talking about this. For those of y'all who missed yesterday, let me just get this pulled up real quick because I want to read this to y'all. Because I'm so, again, the heart wants what the heart wants, right? You can't help that. But she testified yesterday about June 18th to the prosecution on June 18th. And trigger warning, by the way, for everybody listening to this. This is a trigger warning of domestic violence, SA, coercion. Okay. This is what we're going to talk about here in a second is brutal. So I want y'all to be forewarned. So anybody who is a victim of violence, coercion, assault, etc., please be aware of that. This is very heavy, probably one of the heaviest things that we've talked about, that I've talked about this entire trial. So June 18th, 2024, Jane called it a very terrible day. She'd just seen Diddy for the first time in a month. His assistant helped set up a date night. They caught up in her backyard. And then they caught up in the backyard, took photos and recorded a video, which the jury ended up seeing. But Jane said 30 minutes later, it turned dark. She confronted him about another woman. She said, I called him a pedophile. Though the woman was over 18, he was still 25 to 27 years older, and it rubbed me the wrong way. So you know what Jane did? A lot of y'all who are against, thank you guys for getting us to 10,000. Most of y'all in here are against Diddy, right? And every once in a while we have somebody that's pro Diddy. But for those of y'all who are against him, you're going to like what she did here. Jane shoved, he bent over to basically tie his shoe. All right. And she took that opportunity to shove his head into a marble countertop. She gave it a good shot. She threw candles and glass. I hate you, she screamed. I quote, I remember a lot of wax, but I don't remember striking him with glass directly. She tried to run, locking herself in rooms, but Combs kicked down every door. At the front door, Sean kicked me in the back of my thigh. I fell down. He then picked me up in a chokehold and choked me, literally picked her up, lifted her off the ground onto her tiptoes, lifted her off the ground. All right. Actually, you know what? I got a better version of this. Hold on. So I know I'm doing this. I want y'all to, because I have a longer version of this. Give me 1 second. I forgot that I couldn't put the full thing on Instagram because it limits you to 2,200 characters. Give me 1 second, guys. You guys need, I think that it's an injustice to not give you guys the whole thing on this. Sorry. That's me for being disorganized. My bad. Okay. Here we go. We talked about that. Said turned dark, confronted about another woman, called him. Okay. So she shoved his head. Right. I'm trying to go through this where that is. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to start this a little bit over because it's got more information. All right. She hadn't seen him in a long time. So she flew back to LA from Miami. She hadn't seen Combs in person for over a month. The night started like many others. He came over for a date night. Again, they set it up, decorations, etc. They caught up in the backyard, took the photos, the video that the jury saw. Music played in the background. Combs could be heard talking, and 30 minutes later, it turned dark. Right. She testified that she confronted Combs about a woman this is kind of some better context. She testified that she confronted Combs about a woman she believed he had seen on a recent trip to Utah. She admitted she was bottling up resentment and anger and said she eventually snapped. I called him a pedophile. Though she admitted the woman was over 18, she explained that Combs was still 25 to 27 years older and the relationship rubbed her the wrong way. At one point, Jane said Combs bent over to tie his shoe and then she shoved his head into the marble countertop. Quote, I gave it a good shot. Then she started throwing candles and glass, yelling, I hate you, over and over. I remember a lot of wax, but I don't remember striking him with the glass directly. As things escalated, Jane said that she tried to get away from Combs and began locking herself in rooms throughout the house. But Combs kicked down every door, first the bedroom, then the bathroom, then the closet. She changed clothes in the closet, planning to run. She said she needed something she could escape in. She made it to the front door, but Combs caught her. Sean kicked me in the back of my thigh and I fell down. Then he picked me up in a chokehold and choked me. She said she was lifted to the ground on her tiptoes, gasping for air. Jane eventually squirmed free and ran barefoot into the night, hiding quietly by a wall so she wouldn't wake the neighbors, and she waited there for about 2 hours. Thinking he was gone, she eventually walked back toward the house, only to find him still there. When she entered the guest bedroom, this is, remember, 2 hours, they've had time to cool off, okay? When she enters the bedroom and locks the door, Combs kicked that in too. She tried to fight back, throwing more candles. On the patio, she said that she tried to punch Combs in the temple. He responded by hitting her twice in the head, on my forehead, and around my eye area. She testified she ran to the backyard, balled up on the ground, and tried to cover her head. He started punching my head. He started kicking me. He was saying all kinds of things and kept punching me. He said I was trying to take him away from his kids and his family. I'm not. Leave me alone, she said. According to her, Combs then grabbed her by her arm and her hair and dragged her back into the house, the same move that we saw him try to do with Cassie. Once inside, Combs forced Jane to listen to another woman insult her over speakerphone while he held her down. Jane yelled out that he was beating her, and he quickly ended that call. Later, he FaceTimed an assistant and told the assistant to say there was no other woman on the Utah trip. Jane said that she went to the shower to calm down, went to shower. When she looked in the mirror, she saw 2 golf ball-sized welts and a black eye forming. Combs got into the shower with her, fully clothed, and stood outside the water. She then told him that she hated him. He slapped her 3 times across the face, eventually knocking her to the ground. She said after that, Combs used her phone to watch adult content and started texting Antoine, who is one of the male escorts that they had used before. Jane saw her phone screen mirrored to the TV and realized that he was arranging yet another freak-off. We're not going to end the night like this. You're not going to ruin my effing night. Jane said Combs told her to put on makeup, cover her injuries with her hair. When she hesitated, he opened his hand to show her an ecstasy pill. Take this effing pill. You're not going to ruin my night. I don't want to. I don't want to. Then he responds with, ironically, is this coercion? And he was standing close when he did that. She said that she said nothing. She just looked at him. Then Antoine came over. She performed oral on him for what felt like forever. And eventually she slept with him while Combs watched. Okay. That's heavy, guys. It's incredibly, incredibly heavy. It was hard to read. It's hard to listen to. I know all of that. Okay. Anyways, so after all of that, she still would go back to him right now. All right. I see Steph waiting in the wings for me. Thank you. They will have you on in a little bit, getting through this. So let's pick back up with cross-examination, right? Let's pick up with cross. Because this pulls back the curtain on some serious red flags, saying that she spotted early on in her relationship with Diddy. We're talking about addiction, jealousy, the kind of emotional chaos that started right from the first luxury vacation. He wasn't taking care of himself. Basically, Jane told the court on the first trip to Turks and Caicos that she started noticing things that made her deeply uncomfortable. Not with the luxury of the lifestyle, but with Diddy himself. Again, I could tell he wasn't taking very good care of himself. She said on the flight over, his eyes looked off, his teeth and coloring weren't right, and his hands were shaky from what she believed was overconsumption of alcohol. She even suspected he was developing jaundice, saying that his gums were gray, likely from substance usage. Jane testified that after seeing how badly the partying was affecting him, she suggested he go to a rehab center in Thailand. Terry Garagos, the defense attorney, then asked the obvious follow-up question. So did you know he was a substance addict? Her response, in the beginning, I didn't really know how to label it. I encountered somebody that was overdoing the partying. She went on to say that as the relationship continued, she began to recognize a pattern. And while she wouldn't have called it an addiction back then, she now admits, quote, I think now I would say that, but then I just would say that he was really a big party guy. Toward the end of their time together, she learned that he was taking antidepressants. She said that she tried to encourage him to get off the substances and return to his natural form, that Diddy once told her he was interested in ketamine therapy. From there, the defense moved into another emotional layer, Diddy's public relationship with Young Miami, which, by the way, if you were here for the voice note earlier on in this, you heard that. He mentions Young Miami, sorry. So Jane admitted early on that Diddy told her he was polyamorous. At first, she says she didn't mind because they were just getting to know each other. He bought her shoes, Bottega bag, a bracelet, and the vibe was very casual at the start, but then feelings got deeper, as it typically does. Jane said that about 6 months to a year into their relationship, she began seeing his connection with Young Miami, who is Carisha, becoming very public. They posted each other on social media. It looked monogamous, and Jane, she said that she just felt like she was being hidden. It was definitely not something that she signed up for. What was hard was the imbalance. It was difficult when there became another relationship that just publicly looked like a monogamous, committed relationship that I didn't sign up for. She described that after that Turks and Caicos trip, Diddy flew in other women, and for Jane, that was a shock. It was new to see, and it was shocking. When defense asked Jane if she had ever insulted Diddy's other girlfriends, she admitted that she had. Unfortunately, yes, I feel really bad about this. I do love women, but I was very colorful with my words. I called them, and she cut it off. I think hoes was the term. It was a moment of shame and reflection for Jane, but also a window to just how emotionally unstable the situation had become, constantly fighting for Diddy's attention, living in his shadow, and struggling with the fact that she was in a deeply private relationship while other women were being shown off to the world. That would be hard for anybody to swallow, right? So now let's get into the most intense parts of her cross so far. Her testimony about the so-called hotel nights, which is, again, a freak off for those who don't know, which started as a term, quickly becoming a window into Diddy's control, Jane's trauma, and the whole disturbing and emotional dynamic that ran underneath every bit of it. So Tenny Garagos pressed Jane on the details of these hotel nights, which she has described in many previous testimonies as encounters involving herself, Diddy, and another man, usually an entertainer or escort. Garagos pointed out that Jane had taken X during some of these encounters, asked if that was her way of letting loose and playing into Diddy's fantasies. She responded with saying, my choice to take the X, I would say Mr. Combs would offer me the ecstasy and expect me to take it. She said most hotel nights and even most private encounters without any entertainer involve some kind of role play, specifically a cheating fantasy, and Diddy would direct the whole scene. Sean left town and I'm home alone with me and whomever, and I'm sneaking in this entertainer, and it's just me and this entertainer fantasy talking about Sean is on a plane, and I couldn't wait to get this entertainer all alone. Geragos asked if Combs was aroused by giving directions to her and the other man during these things. Yes, he was. Now, here's where it gets really twisted. Jane testified that Combs was more affectionate than usual during these hotel nights. She said that they typically had about 30 minutes to an hour of alone time before the entertainer arrived. And again, after he left, that's when she got cuddling the connection, the love that she was seeking. During the hotel nights, the portion of me and him, yes, I love that part. He's the most affectionate during these nights. She said this was one of the only times she felt like she had his full emotional attention. They'd make love, he'd hold her, and that made her willing to endure the rest. Jane then confirmed the use of red lights and baby oil wasn't exclusive to hotel nights. Those were used in other private encounters too, as part of they were part of the larger aesthetic Diddy liked to control. She also testified that some of the hotel nights were filmed. Sorry, misread that. She said that she was okay with it because Diddy told her the videos were just for the two of them. You put on a good show for him in those videos because you knew he would want to watch them back. Yes, that's what Geragos asked. Yes, she responded. And you liked watching them with him? I didn't like that part, but it was just part of the relationship. Jane testified that when she moved to a new house in April of 23, a house that Combs paid 40 grand up front for, continued to fund with $10,000 a month under their love contract. Part of the idea was to have private space for those hotel nights. She said that she thought if the home matched Diddy's taste level, they could start doing the hotel nights there instead of actual hotels and keep them hidden from the public. Jane confirmed that she and Diddy both wanted these hotel nights to stay secret and that even his employees were not supposed to know about the entertainers. She also confirmed that some hotel nights had happened at her previous apartment before she moved into the new rental. Now, let's talk about what happened when she said no. Geragos tried to argue that Jane had some control during these nights, that if she was uncomfortable, Diddy would stop. Jane didn't agree. She confirmed that there were few rare occasions when Combs agreed to dismiss an entertainer, but only after she had already tried to go through the encounter. So while the defense tried to paint Diddy as someone who was responsive to her boundaries, Jane made it very clear that that was the exception, not the rule. Then came the emotional aftermath. Geragos revisited two occasions where Jane had testified that she cried after hotel nights. One was early on in the relationship, and she said she cried when Diddy was about to leave her after a hotel night. When she asked him to stay, he changed his plans and comforted her. But the second time was different. She was crying in the shower with Combs after a hotel night, and he was high on X. You're going to ruin my high. That was it. No comforting, no emotional presence, just self-preservation, even when she was visibly hurting. Let's break it down. Directed role-play scenarios involving other men, filmed for Diddy's pleasure, fueled by X, she says he expected her to take, followed by affectionate moments that felt like rewards. Rarely stopped when she felt uncomfortable, and only after she had already participated, kept it all entirely secret from the public and even from staff, and on some nights left her in tears, and he would just dismiss it with a shrug. These were performances choreographed and controlled by Diddy, layered with manipulation, dependency, and emotional confusion. Now, we're getting toward the end of this, and real quick, we have Steph's case files, who is a friend of mine who is physically in New York, has gone to the Diddy trial the last couple of days. She's going to come on YouTube and chat with us a little about. So if you're on Insta or Facebook, you'll be able to see this. But if you're on TikTok, you might want to start kind of filing over. And of course, I'll remind you if you want to hear that. If not, we'll be live with them later this evening as well. But first, we learn more about KK, Christina Karam, who is Diddy's chief of staff. Jane described her as someone who didn't like her, and that dislike, she said, created tension in her relationship with Combs. I believe that she had very strong opinions about me, which influenced a great deal of how Sean also treated me. At one point, messages between Jane and KK were read in court. These were from around the time Jane said Combs asked her to bring substances to Miami for him. Jane previously testified that KK told her over the phone it was fine and even instructed her to put the substances in her checked bag. But in court, those instructions didn't appear in any of the messages read aloud. Jane held her ground, insisting that the conversation happened over the phone. She also said that she didn't think KK or other employees knew what was really went on during these hotel nights. In fact, Combs specifically didn't want KK to know when he was partying. Jane said that Courtroom disapproved and tried to keep him focused on his business. Then Tinny Garagos pressed Jane on how the entertainers got involved in the first place and how much of that recruitment she was responsible for. Jane admitted that she was the one who reached out to some of them, including an adult performer referred to as Sly, but she said that it wasn't entirely her idea. Said it was with the encouragement of my partner. She said that one night she and Combs were watching Sly's adult content together, and that's when she messaged him. We talked about this during prosecution as well. Garagos asked her if she used her own social media account. She said yes. She messaged her on Instagram, by the way. Given the context of what was happening in my relationship, yes. He asked if Combs told her directly to reach out. He was encouraging it. Then Garagos brought up the string of 2021 text messages between Jane and Combs. In one exchange, Combs told Jane, be explicit, prompting her to send graphic messages about a fantasy involving relationships with him and another man. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. He wanted Jane to send be explicit, prompting her to send graphic messages about a fantasy involving relations with Diddy and another man. Okay? I spoke in graphic language because I knew that's what he wanted. And then Jane said something that explained a lot about why she went along with it. That was the only option I was given, and I wanted to see my lover. She testified that when Combs asked if she wanted him to come over with an entertainer, she said yes, not because she wanted the encounter, but because it was the only way to be with him. She also talked about how she and Diddy actively tried to keep the nights a secret. She said that when his employees would deliver cash to a hotel room, she doesn't believe any of them saw what was going on inside, and that she didn't think they ever walked in during any of these encounters. When it came to KK specifically, Jane said that she didn't believe KK ever knew about the entertainers. And when Jane previously testified that Combs threatened her about the tapes, she said KK was the one who calmed her down and even helped create some distance between her and Combs afterwards. Now, some of y'all are gonna like this. She called him a cuck today. She said that in 2022, she started researching Diddy's preferences online, trying to make sense of why he liked watching her sleep with other men. I came upon the word cuckolder. She described it as a man who gets pleasure from watching his partner with another man. She read up on it, which in the psychology behind it, one theory stood out: that cucks could also have a bi curiosity that they're too ashamed to explore directly. So they use their partner to act out that curiosity without participating. James said Combs referred to it as voyeurism, but for her, I would use the word cuck. Now, then, this next part talks about the aftermath of Turks and Caicos, her relationship with Diddy's generosity, and why she says she went along with so much of it. So let's start with what the jury heard from Jane and Diddy. Not in testimony, but in their own voices. Tinny Garagos played a series of text messages and audio clips exchanged between the two in March of 23, just after that infamous trip to Turks and Caicos, a trip Jane had previously described as traumatic because Diddy surprised her with a hotel night and an entertainer, triggering a huge argument. But the audio tells a different side. In the recordings, Jane sounds upbeat. She tells Diddy how much fun she had, how close she feels to him, saying, everything just feels good and I'm so happy. Wendy, no, that's a very different word than what you just spelled. Fuck is a very different word than what you just spelled. You just changed the vowel to a different word, which sounds like something that Diddy likes. That being said, I'll get back to this. I'm going to encourage you to look it up a little bit more. He said, so Diddy's message, he said, everything feels good and I'm just so happy. Diddy's message back, he says he loves her, even references what Jane described in earlier testimony as their love contract, which we've talked about, that agreement that he pays for, right? When asked about the voice notes, Jane testified that she was being honest about the good parts, the closeness to laughter, the time alone with him, but she made it clear. I was not talking about the part with the entertainer. Then came one of the most tense and explosive moments of the day. Garagos started grilling Jane about designer gifts, asking if Diddy ever gave her a Chanel bag. Jane said, no, I only got trauma. Garagos pushed harder. What is a Bottega bag? She snapped, I'm sure you have one. And then Garagos kept pressing about the price. How much does my body cost? That's when the judge stepped in and told her to answer the question. She replied, $1,500 to $5,000. Then she asked for a break, and honestly, after the exchange, no one in the courtroom blamed her, right? Later, the jury heard yet another set of audio messages, this time from November of 21, when Jane and Diddy were trying to set up another hotel night. Diddy referenced Don and Sly, who were two of the entertainers who frequently appeared in these encounters. She suggested to bring them in again. Jane responded with a voice note saying that she thought he was saving that for a grand finale once he finished his album. She testified that this was her way of trying to stall to dodge the pressure without saying no outright. But what really set her off came across after those messages. She went on social media and saw Diddy spending time with another woman. That led to a series of texts the jury did see where Jane called out how hurt she was, not just about the pressure for the hotel night, but that Diddy was spoiling somebody else while she was being pushed into doing this with strangers. She texted him saying, quote, I thought on a quick 1 to 2 day trip. You just wanted to see me, but wanted Don and Sly moment with that time, hotel vibes. Within that time, hotel vibes. Jane testified that she didn't receive the same kind of gifts or public affection other women did, even though she gave in to these encounters. She said that bothered her deeply. Back from the afternoon break, she was asked again about her lifestyle and whether she actually benefited from the relationship with Diddy. She admitted that she was still living in a 5,300 square foot rental home that he put her in. It was a massive upgrade from the 1,400 square foot apartment. She also said she made a little bit of profit from a business Diddy invested $20,000 into, and she confirmed that he never asked her for a cut. But when asked about her earlier claim that she couldn't grow professionally during those years, she didn't walk it back. She said, had I not dove headstrong into this relationship, I probably would have been a bit more successful in that time frame, but that's neither here nor there. She then circled back to some of the graphic messages that Diddy had that Jane had sent Diddy, text where she talked about hotel nights positively, even offering to watch footage from previous encounters with him. Jane explained that she wasn't being honest for her own pleasure. She was doing it for him. Combs liked to recap after those hotel nights. I was positively reinforcing these experiences so he didn't feel rejected. She said even when he offered a night without an entertainer or without Molly, she didn't believe him. She texted him, I'll believe it when I see it. So while the defense tried to show that she was into it, the voice notes, etc., Jane insisted that it was about making Diddy feel secure. Now, here's what I'll tell you about tomorrow. Jury wrap shortly after. Court will resume tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. But today's takeaway is this. Jane's testimony revealed just how much she says she had to perform, not just sexually, but emotionally, just to maintain his affection. She says she spoke in fantasy, smiled through trauma, and stayed silent while other women were rewarded, all while she just wanted to be seen. Now, with that said, Steph has been waiting patiently in the wings over here. I'm going to bring her on. If you are on TikTok, you won't be able to hear it. You might want to jump over to YouTube. And if not, though, Steph will be on with legally. Forget what the rest of her name is, but Allie later tonight as well. Hey, Steph, what's up?
Hi, friend. How are you?
Good. How are you doing in New York?
Oh, my goodness. Wore out, but I've had an interesting time.
Well, I want to hear all about it. I know the people want to hear all about it. And I will tell you, I got to go pick up my daughter at about 5:30. So I got about 20 minutes. But when there's still more, which I'm sure there will be, we're going to do something tonight, I think, on TikTok, correct, as well. And we can always upload that to YouTube later. But I'm just going to shut up then, and I'm going to let you kind of talk about what it's like in that courtroom, what you saw, and things that maybe I didn't go over, that the reporters didn't put out. The floor is yours.
Well, you pretty much covered it all. I have to tell you, though, to be in the courtroom, well, we were in the overflow room, was an absolute experience. To hear about this experience with Jane Doe, to see her talking about it, to see her reactions to some of the questions, and to hear her testimony on what she went through. It is really, really something that I'll never forget. And to listen to the actual voicemails that he left her, and to listen to these phone recordings and hear his voice say these things, I have to say, insane. at times inside the courtroom, you have the regular courtroom, and then you have an overflow. And in the overflow, there are several federal agents, security guards who mine the room. And at times the room would interrupt and just this, oh no, and just, oh, and laughter and just kind of an over expression of shock to actually hear this voicemails and stuff. And they would have to go around and calm people down and tell them to be quiet. Some people they had to escort out who was a little too overreactive to what was going on the monitors. And in the overflow room, they had huge monitors everywhere. You could see everything perfectly. You could not, they weren't zoomed in on Diddy. So I wish that they would have, because I would like to see his facial expressions during some of this time. We went in pre-lunch. These are all the notes that I took pre-lunch. And you laid it out beautifully done. My notes are kind of, they got rained on during the rain because we went back out onto the street, and the street is just as interesting as inside. I've had some pretty interesting experiences on the street with people being vocal for their support for Puff Daddy, wearing free Puff shirts. And so my notes begin, he would ask her to go along with these hotel nights. What was interesting to me was that he called them hotel nights instead of freak offs, because they would be at a hotel, at the Trump Hotel right here in New York City. And I found that interesting. I found it also interesting that they called it love contracts. I haven't heard that term with Cassie, not that I'm aware of. And so that's an interesting term. And we actually heard the voicemail where he left her a voicemail and said, I know you love the love contract. And we heard the voicemail where he called her a pipe. You know what I'm talking about? And at that time, the overflow room interrupted because it was just like he named her uh, a, a device that you use to take street pharmaceuticals. And what he was doing was saying that she was an addiction. And so I have to tell you too that I met Mark Garagos today. He came into the cafeteria. Me and Attorney Allie were sitting there. He came in and had a cup of coffee. And when he walked by, I said, "Hey, Mark Garagos." And he's like, "Hey." I said, "This is Attorney Allie. She's an attorney." And so he fist pumped her. And he said that he was there to support his daughter. And and she's really, I have to say, I hope Diddy goes down, but his daughter is doing a very good job. She is trying to paint this picture like Jane was agreeable, and that she got money from Diddy from the first, he paid the first and last month's rent, and the security deposit. And we heard this morning it was $40,000 that he paid down for her to move into this home, into this gated community. And so what Mark Garagos's daughter is trying to say is, listen, maybe sometimes you didn't like hotel nights, but you were a willing participant. We have your reaction saying that you enjoyed the night, you never felt closer to him in your life, and that would be exchanged in so many words for purses, for money. She would text him and ask him to wire her money. I think he wired her $20,000 one time. And in a sense, and not so many words, I felt like the defense was trying to paint Jane as a worker in some sense, because she was getting money and gifts and a place to stay in exchange for these hotel nights and the love contract. And she said that he is still paying her rent, he is still paying her attorney. And so a lot of people on the street were talking about that today. And they said, we feel like maybe he might still be in love with her because he is still paying those things for her. And I thought that was an interesting comment. It's hard to imagine Diddy loving anybody, because one of the things we heard about this morning is that it was very strange to me. He would have her learn Bible verses, and they had a favorite reverend pastor that they would watch together and send each other video clips. And but at the same time, he was having abusive moments with her. He was having these ultimatums. You do this for my affection, and also I'll buy you a purse, and so on and so forth. So I thought, well, I don't understand, because then you aren't really living by, how can you send these verses if you're not sort of trying to live by them yourself? It was very oddly to me. Let me go down my notes here and see what else we have. Um, he would. He talked about the dresses perfectly. They did say he invested $20,000 in dresses, and that she says the actually her dress line is still current, but she had a lot of fog brain. She called it fog brain during that time because of the alleged street pharmaceuticals that he was having her to take. One instance in particular, the first time she had taken a particular street pharmaceutical, he had her take a big dose, and it made her so sick. She said that his assistants had to help her to the shower, get her calmed down, get her to kind of come back to. And then the attorney Garagos asked her, when was the next time that you took that particular street pharmaceutical? And she said 2 days later. And I felt like she made this point because you took it, you didn't like it, but you come back and you made the choice to keep taking these street pharmaceuticals. To which Jane's defense is, I really had to take them. It made me feel, she said, confident. It made me feel loved, and it enabled me to go through these emotions with these other men that he wanted me to. It really sounds like the Cassie Ventura all over again, almost to the T about what she went through. And she said they asked her, how much did you make on Instagram without Diddy's help? She said that if she had per brand that wanted her to film for them, it was $50,000. So the defense says, so you could actually take care of yourself, right? To which he responded, well, yes. So what they're trying to say is, if he is dangling this house over your head, right? Upon breakup, he said, you want another 3 months and then you got to get out. Upon all of these things, right? You continued to do this despite knowing that you could pay for them yourself. That was the point. And without saying that she agreed, oh, well, she agreed in so many words. And this is interesting to me too, because I'm sitting here, you're trying not to make facial expressions because the agents are watching you. If you so much as, oh, they come over and like, shh, right? And she said that she did not need Puff Daddy's permission, but that she joined OnlyFans just last year in 2024. And she done that to earn money. And she didn't need his permission, but she wanted to get his blessing because that she cared about what he thought about, because she wanted him to be her significant partner and wanted him to only be with her. And I'm like, okay, the prosecution didn't bring that up, right? The defense is bringing up OnlyFans because they're trying to say, this is what you do. You use your body for a personal gain, and that's what you done with Diddy. You were complacent, and so they're trying to paint this picture of Diddy. And also, they kept saying, so he was nice that night, right? So he was affectionate that night, right? Trying to make the jury feel that he had some sort of heart and that the relationship did have some sort of love. I guess that's what they were trying to say. And you talked about the $150,000. I was in there when they said, "Do you believe?" I mean, it's around $150,000. Yeah, just about. And so she's like, I'm not keeping count. He buys me a $5,000 purse or what have you, but it was upwards of $150,000 for this 3-year relationship. So they're trying to paint like she knew, she still knows, and that's what they're trying to do. She said that she had envisioned the house that he pays for the both of them, and she did lease that in April of 2023 for 2 nights. I'm sorry for she leased it 2 years after the first hotel night. So the reason I feel that they were bringing this up is okay. 2 years after the first hotel night, you move into where you want him to get you more and more and more. And you wanted this big house. You wanted these nice things. You wanted this kind of life. She said that her and her child wanted a big home to Combs' taste so that when he came over there, he would also feel like home. Quote, "You have no idea how torn I am right now." That is the voice note that they played that she said. And Diddy said, this is a voice message that he left her. "Hey, baby, we had a great time living life. You are my Pop. That's my new name for you, Pop. I have so much effing fun," she said back. "Blowing kisses and love you. You got your contract. You got your love contract," she said. So when the defense is talking about this, they're saying, you're saying yes, you got it, I'm having a great time, this is great, instead of her story now, which is that it brought her a lot of depression and anxiety. And so this is one quote that came up that was very really put it into perspective, that Diddy at one point told her, "I'm going to make love, but the other word for it, or die trying," really pointing out his addiction to love making in any way in form that he could get it from. She said the one of the things that really hurt was that every time they made love, they would have to watch things together that she didn't want to, but it's what he wanted, and that she kept trying to make him happy. And she said she wrote to him, oh, I'm sorry, a voicemail, excuse me. So I heard, listen, to hear about it in the news, but to be in the room and actually hear the voice messages, oh my gosh. They played a voice message from her. And she says, "Hey, love, I am dying at your voicemail about the pipe. A pipe is, I'm trying to be very, not get Justin in trouble here. It's so real. It's mutual. When we together, it's going to be great. I had so much fun with you guys, getting close to you. I am so happy." This is a voice. You can hear her. "I am so happy." She doesn't seem distraught. She doesn't seem sad. So the defense, this is the defense's day. I have to say, they really won the day. Okay. They kept introducing things, and it was important that they would make sure that it was under seal, meaning that it's not going to get out. So April the 4th, 2023, they put that exhibit 31-10 under seal. And it's a text message where she's saying, "I know this house. It's nearby great schools. It's a 4-bedroom, brand new," where she's trying to convince him to get the house. Let's see here. And at one point, she said, when they were close to breakup, when he threatened her with the 3 months left in the house, she told him, "I am not Cassie, and I can make your life hell." So they were trying to say, listen, you're acknowledging Cassie's situation, and now you're trying to hold it over his head instead of him holding things over your head. They were trying to flip the coin, as I believe. And so she said, "Well, I was mad, and I snapped over that." And then they brought up, the fact that he said that he would offer 3 more months, and that he had already paid first and last month's rent and the security deposit. So the defense said, "Listen, you could have lived there for 6 months without any help if you so choose so, right?" "Yes, I guess so." She's very soft spoken. Well, Diddy asked me to come to a hotel night, and you really have to listen. She's got a very soft voice. She's not aggressive at all, and so you really have to listen to her. She has a very very low soft tone voice, and she said that April the 9th, 2021. 4 months after they started dating, they got packed, meaning the paparazzi. And she says she wrote to him, I'm shaking because I didn't want it to be public. And he said not to panic, that he can just say she was a friend coming over. So usually people are, when they date celebrities, they're excited. Hey, I'm dating this celeb. But for whatever reason, in this case, she claims that she didn't want anybody to know about this relationship. Well, I wonder why. I feel like the defense brought that up because they're saying, well, you didn't want anybody to know because they know you know already about Cassie. And so probably you were embarrassed, but you were wanting his money on the back end. Okay. And I know it's bad. What he done is wrong. He needs to go down. But they really, really won today as far as that's concerned. Okay. So this is all before lunch. I mean, so many notes. I don't know if we can get over them all because you have to go, but we can finish this tonight
Yeah,
on TikTok.
I also want to talk to you about something. It was something I was asking to talk about on TikTok tonight. Yeah, I gotta go pick up my kid. What was it? It was about something that happened yesterday. I want to talk about the testimony that I was reading when you came in that she talked about yesterday. That was very, very heavy, as well as a few other things as far as the control and stuff like that goes. Just remind me to bring that up again because I don't know. I feel like that testimony. Oh yeah, the other thing too, the Cassie part where she talked yesterday about how she thought that like this is my exact same relationship. I want to talk about both of those things tonight if we can because we didn't get to do this last night.
Okay.
You cool with that?
I'm cool. I'm good. I'm cool.
So everybody, so Steph, I know. Go ahead and do shout out your channels for people to follow you.
So everybody, first and foremost, please follow me on the big YT here at YouTube. I'm really just starting my channel and I have about 6,000 followers so far. But if you could give me a follow over here, that would really, really help me. You can search for me on YouTube by searching or just search for Steph Case Files and I'll come right up. You can also find me on TikTok at Steph's Case Files. In fact, no matter what social media platform you're using, you will find me. All you have to do is search for Steph's Case Files.
I thank you for doing that. And Steph is a great creator. She's a good friend. She puts in a lot of hard work. She's physically in New York doing this right now for us. So somebody's whose TikTok will be on, I don't know. I guess whose TikTok do you want to be on?
We can be on yours. That's fine.
Okay, we'll do mine. I guess because it's the larger platform. We'll get more people in for you. Yeah, we can grow you that way too. All right. Yeah. And we're going to also have Allie on as well, probably, who was there as well with Steph as well. And I think it's gonna be a good conversation and that'll be done on TikTok. But for those of you guys who don't have TikTok, don't watch TikTok, my YouTubers, Facebookers, and Instagram people, we will upload that to YouTube when it's done. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Thank you, Steph, for coming on and joining us. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.